Hello everyone, my name is Dan, aka Stout, and this is Stout Gaming. In this video we're going to be going over my Week 6 matchup in the Max Double VGC Draft League against eMburst. Without any further ado, let's just go ahead and hop into the battles. So going into Game 1, I knew my best plan was always going to be Regirock Musharna because of the way I had it line up into Kartana, Swampert, and Nidoking, which I see he brought all of. But he didn't bring Incineroar or Latios, which was a little shocking to me. I honestly expected those to come as well. So I think at this point I want to continue to maintain my Trick Room, but instead of doing the hard Trick lead of Musharna Thievul with Quick Guard to stop any shenanigans from the Klefki, I'm going to end up bringing Trick Room in the back Game 1. The Coco is a physical set again this week, designed to do the most possible damage. It's not going to outspeed Aerodactyl. Instead of speed tying it, I went for Adamant and a little more bulk, but I guaranteed outspeed Latios, which isn't brought here. The Spectrier is max speed, where it will outspeed the or it will speed tie with the Aerodactyl, which might come up in future games. And then I know that I want the Trick Room in the back here. I really wasn't expecting to bring Landorus much, considering Latios and Incineroar match up fairly well into it, but seeing neither of them, Landorus seems more solid, especially with a vest setup like I have. This is the first time I've run max speed, max attack Landorus, which I wasn't sure if that was correct or not, but it seemed like it slotted in at a decent speed tier. And then here we see Klefki and Cart. So I know that unless there is a Scarf, that I've got the fastest thing on the field, and even if there is a Scarf, that Intimidate is going to put in a bit of work on the Kartana's potential damage output. The Kartana, instead of going straight for a KO, I'm assuming he has the most common variant, which is Assault Vest at this point in time. I want to just cripple it further compared to where it already was and get some damage in on this Klefki. Here I'm really struggling because I want to Dynamax the Regirock late game, and the best play here may have been to go for a Max Quake into the Klefki. I know Rock Slide is double not very effective. Like, my opponent did a very good job of putting me in situations where I had to make weird move choices, like this Superpower into Klefki. I'm glad I didn't go for the Max Quake here because it would have been completely immune, and that would have been frustrating. So this Kartana is Scarfed. I've confirmed Scarf on Kartana at this point, which is going to be important moving forward in the match for me. And I've successfully crippled it, and I'm planning on ignoring it for most of the rest of the game, because Superpower into Klefki is going to do enough here. And this sets me up in a decent position to get Trick Room up, because Musharna does have the Mental Herb, so I can't be taunted on the Musharna. So here I have a feeling that even with the burn that Kartana is going to be able to take out the Spectrier, and I am okay with that. I just sort of want to get Landorus out into Musharna, set up Trick Room, let the Kartana take out the Spectrier, get a free switch into Regirock, and hopefully sweep from there. At least that's the initial plan. So the Landorus comes out into the Musharna, as expected. The Klefki uses Switcheroo. I'm expecting now an eject button, and then at this point I Google Cerebi ring target because I don't actually know what that does, and it turns out that it doesn't really do much to Musharna. It just makes moves that wouldn't normally affect it. And I'm okay with where that is. The Kartana goes back to neutral but is still burned. It's not really going to be much of a threat to damaging Regirock due to the base 200 defenses, and I'm going to be able to get Regirock set up under Trick Room, and I'm going to be pretty happy about that at this point in time. So I'm still a little perturbed by the Klefki, but I'm not scared of switcheroo eject button anymore, which was really what I was trying to set up around with this. So I expect to just be able to take it out. I'm not really sure what it's going to be doing, but it is more threatening than the Kartana in my estimation at this point in time, which, as it could turn out later, this estimation could be entirely wrong, but I wasn't going to be targeting into the Swampert anyway. I've got Energy Ball on the Musharna. I'm feeling pretty good about this setup currently. So I Dynamaxed the Regirock, and I may have made a moveset mistake on the Regirock without running Protect. I decided that the coverage of Thunder Punch, which was the closest thing to being Protect, was more important than getting a Protect on. He takes my weakness policy, which is annoying, and I get a Mental Herb, which doesn't really do much for me, and then I Max Flare, set up Sun, so the Swampert is less threatening, and I'm feeling pretty good at this point in time. Even though I don't get to do my Gyro Ball weakness policy proc, I'm feeling decent about my setup here. The way that I've got the speeds set up, Musharna underspeeds Regirock by 1 point, so a Gyro Ball wouldn't do a lot of damage. It comes in around 3% to Dynamax. And here, the Nidoking doesn't really scare me that much. I know it's a special attacker, but it will have to Dynamax and give up its Sheer Force ability in order to do damage to Regirock without just dying to this Max Ice move. So, to my opponent's credit, they do Dynamax this Nidoking, and Swampert I'm feeling okay with an Energy Ball into. Like, I think there's a chance it picks up a KO unless it's very bulky. So I think I'm in a solid position at this point in time. Energy Ball into Swampert's going to do a big chunk, but it is a bulkier Swampert because it survives the Quad Super Effective and then red cards me. I'm not exactly sure what the point of the red card tech was, but it was frustrating. But I do get a free Intimidate on the Swampert here, which is always a nice bonus. So here I'm going to be getting a Max Hailstorm launched into this Nidoking, which should do over 50% even without weakness policy boost. Then one more will be enough to pick up the KO, and we'll see how much this Nidoking can do into me. I'm not really expecting much. Darkest Lariat, because of the red card tech into Landorus, isn't going to do a whole lot. So this Max Quake comes into Regirock. It does well over 50%. So I know I need to target into the Nidoking, but also the Protect on the Nidoking is pretty obvious. So here comes a key decision point in this game. At -1, I don't think Swampert has a move that KOs Regirock. I know the Nidoking does, and Landorus is in a unadvantageous position here. So I have to decide whether I want to pick up the KO on the Swampert or go for the KO into the Nidoking into what I assume will be a Protect. And then Landorus, I have to decide, do I want to Protect or do I want to go for an attack into the Swampert to try to pick up a little bit of chip damage. Rock Slide is probably not the right choice here, and I do believe I end up clicking it, thinking that it might KO the Swampert from where it is. I probably should have just gone into Superpower or switched it out into the Musharna, but I got a little greedy here, thinking that the chip damage from Rock Slide might be enough to KO the Swampert, which it didn't. He makes the Protect, and I had attacked into it, which was obviously the correct play on his end. This EQ I don't think should pick up the KO on the Regirock, so I'm feeling okay in this position. And I'm assuming that my Ice Punch next turn is going to take out that Nidoking. Now, this Rock Slide not picking up the KO on the Swampert is a little annoying, but it should be in hail range anyway. So his Swampert goes down, and I know he's got a burned cart in the back, and I'm feeling okay in this position at this point. I don't think burned cart is going to be doing a lot, although I do make a key misplay in the coming turns up here. So I think Ice Punch should be enough to KO this Nidoking, and I'm still going to be better than it under Trick Room. And here, what I should have done is switched into the Musharna, understanding that any attacks into this Landorus will be bad, because the Nidoking survives, and that's really, really, really bad for me, because this Hailstorm is going to hurt this Landorus. And then the Kartana is going to be able to pick up the KO on Regirock, and he puts himself in a position for Kartana to go one-on-one with Musharna, where Musharna's only attacking move is Energy Ball. So this is a very, very advantageous position for my opponent. I ignored the cart too long, and I didn't make a switch on that turn, so that was a bit of a throw on my end, but they put themselves in position to let me throw. A +1 Kartana that's burned should still be able to KO, or not KO'd, should be able to 1v1 this Musharna that I have. Because the Musharna, although it is max physical bulk, isn't going to be doing enough damage to the Kartana, and the hail damage and burn damage won't add up quickly enough, I don't think. I mean, I'm still going to play it out, try to get some crits going in my favor, but this very much advantages my opponent at this point in time. So like I said, I go for the Energy Ball. I'm expecting it to do very little. It does very little, but my opponent also is an Assault Vested, so it does more than it could have. And he's Scarf Blocked into Leaf Blade. Crit there is unfortunate, definitely, because I obviously would have preferred not to get crit, I guess. Easy game. Don't get crit. And then Trick Room returns, so I think I need to set up another Trick Room to potentially get 2 attacks if they don't get another crit in, which might buy me 3 turns of burn damage plus 2 attacks, which could be enough, but I'm not going to survive one more attack, so I'm going to be able to launch one more Energy Ball and hope for a massive crit that there's probably not enough for it to do. The burn knocks it down to about 40%. Energy Ball hopefully is enough to pick it out, knock it out, but I don't think so at this point in time, even with a crit. So I'm gonna play it out, not get the crit, die to the Leaf Blade, and my opponent picks up the first game 1-0. I will make a note at this point, I have been scared off of my Trick Room strategy, which was my main plan going into this game, just because of what the Klefki is doing, and honestly, I think I gave the Klefki too much respect moving forward, but I'm going to skip ahead at this point to game number 2. So, game 2 is definitely the least interesting game in the set. I decided to go away from my Trick Room strategy, probably not the play in the long term, the more I think about it after the match, but I knew that Thievul, Coco is always a good setup, and Spectrier and Landorus would allow me to have a decent chunk of speed against his team, and there wasn't really anything on his team except for the Swampert that really scared me with this setup. I'm debating selecting and locking in the Spectre at this point because I am really wanting to run Trick Room still, but I just decide to go with the super fast mode, lock it in against his team to see what they bring. And hopefully then this was my plan was to hopefully allow that the speed on my team to just blitz out whatever's on his team and maybe pick up a KO or 2 with the Thievul with my secret Thievul tech, which I brought specifically for Kartana. But now that it's Scarfed Kartana, there's a chance that it outspeeds the Thievul, even when the Thievul has doubled speed, depending on where his Kartana's speed tier is, because my Thievul is running basically no speed investment. So here I know that I've got a decent matchup with the Landorus, but I also know that the Nidoking's Ice move is going to be enough to KO the Landorus, and assuming it has a little bit of bulk on it, will survive a max Quake. So what I want to do is bait Nice Move into the Tapu Koko, let the Electric Seed come out, and hopefully outspeed the cart and pick up quick clean KO with Thievel because it has Burning Jealousy. And since I know that this isn't an Assault Vested cart, there's no chance that cart survives without Dynamaxing. Which cart could Dynamax, but then it would lose a speed advantage over Coco, and Coco would pick up a clean KO the next turn. So this setup feels very favorable to me at this point in time, and I do see a Dynamax being committed. I think it might be the cart initially, which would allow it to survive and do a decent chunk of damage, but it wouldn't scare me too much in the long term. But it is the Nidoking, which makes sense. I'm expecting now a Max Hailstorm to come into the Coco spot, which will do a chunk. The Coco has some bulk, but not a lot, and Thievel picks up a clean KO. I never thought I'd say those words, but it just OHKOs the cart, and I'm very happy at that point. I let the Hailstorm come into the Coco, which does a big oof, chunks me a bit, and leaves Coco at a point where I don't want to Dynamax it, because basically anything will kill it. And even if I howl to get to +1, I don't think I'm taking out the Nidoking with it. I will be honest, Dynamaxing it next turn did cross my mind, but I think that I would rather sack it with a Brave Bird to get a switch in, because I think Thievel survives anything that Nidoking and Swampert throw at it. So the Swampert comes in. I just want to I'm considering howling here to give myself an even more powerful Brave Bird to potentially take out the Swampert, because I know Swampert has the potential to be bulky. I also think Parting Shot isn't horrible, but I'd rather keep the speed on the Thievel, which is, moving forward, something that will come up again in this match. And I don't have Foul Play this week, which, looking back, might have been a mistake. I was probably giving the Clef too much respect. The Quick Guard was to prevent Switcheroo Eject button on Musharna, so I could have a guaranteed Trick Room get up turn 1, if that was the path I wanted to take. This Thievel is basically designed as a Clef Key counter, and I probably gave too much respect for the Clef Key without it using any of the Switcheroo eject button technology that Clef Keys often have access to. Without that, I actually think this Thievel isn't as well positioned as it could be for this match, but this Brave Bird's going to do a decent chunk. It's going to let me KO myself, and then I'm going to take a bit of damage on the Thievel, but I am +1 defense because of the Electric Seed, and I'm running a decent amount of bulk on the Thievel, so it's not really going to do that much. Now, I know that this thing is red card, which is interesting. I wasn't sure how the reaction between a KO with Brave Bird, self-KO with Brave Bird, and red card would work. That was basically a bit of an experiment on my end, but that was the best attack for me to go for at that point in time. So now I've got two options here. I know he's got a max ice move, and the Swampert isn't going to be doing too much longer, but I also don't know if Spectrier is going to pick up the KO. If he's running no bulk on the Nidoking, a max ground from the Spectrier after another Burning Jealousy should pick up the KO on the Nidoking, so this will just let me determine his bulk levels, because I'm running Timid max special attack, so it's pretty clean damage on Spectrier, and Spectrier being in max position is going to be useful against whatever he has in the back, no matter what. So this Spectrier going for max Quake into Nidoking, like I said, will pick up the KO if there's no bulk on the Nidoking, will not pick up the KO if there's a moderate amount of bulk on the Nidoking. Minimal bulk, it could come down to a roll. I don't think his Nidoking has a defense boost. It might have a defense boost, and I just completely missed it, which throws off my calcs the rest of the match, but that would be my bad, and I'm even missing it in video commentary, so it shows you how much I'm paying attention at that point in time to the Nidoking's defense boosts. Burning Jealousy is going to get a little bit of chip onto the Nidoking. Swampert protects itself. It's going to get hurt by Hail. Burning Jealousy damages the Nidoking. Max Quake comes out. And it's got a bit of bulk. I'm pretty confident in saying it's got a bit of bulk at this point in time. Not hugely bulky, but enough that it's going to hurt. It's probably not max speed. Phantasm's not going to do much to Spectrier. And I'm feeling good in this position. Nidoking's going to lose Dynamax. Thievul has the potential to pick up some clean KOs this game. Burning Jealousy could get a double knockout, which would bring Thievul to 3 kills in this game, which I didn't expect to happen this season. Like, Thievul could have been my MVP without picking up a KO this season. Now Thievul might be challenging for my kill lead. It's a joke, of course, but anything's possible. Burning Jealousy, doubling into both of them, and then Max Phantasm in case he switches something in, or Max Quake in case he switches something in. It's a bad position for my opponent at this point in time. Thievul and Spectrier are just going to put in some work. There is no Protect. Thievul gets Burning Jealousy. Picks up a clean double KO on Thievul. This is a modest max special attack Thievul. It's designed to deal as much damage with Burning Jealousy to Kartana and to Klefki as possible. Not a lot to Clef, but obviously Oko's Kartana. And is faster than Scarf Kartana, so Thievul's the hard Kartana counter in every meta going forward. Klefki comes out in the back. I know it has Magnet Rise, so Max Shadow into it probably makes sense. Thievul gets the opportunity to launch Burning Jealousy. Again, obviously Klefki is bulkier on the special side than Kartana is without Assault Vest, but it's not going to do a lot in this situation. Thievul's Burning Jealousy hits Klefki, does about 50%, and Max Phantasm does a hefty chunk there. So yeah, that was game 2, pretty standard. I got myself in a good position to sweep through, and then I will see you guys back here for game 3. Moving into game 3, I want to make a point really quickly. You're going to hear me say I threw a lot during this game. That's to take nothing away from my opponent, who put me in positions to throw. They played an excellent game this game, put me in a position to make mistakes, and I did make the mistakes. I think I had the better team coming into the week, but they definitely played better. But with that being said, I definitely threw as well. So going into this game, I really wanted to bring Trick Room again, because I just think that it goes really well into his team, but I kept talking myself in and out of it throughout this team selection screen. Because I also know that Landorus goes surprisingly well into his team compared to where I thought it would be. Spectrier hits hard, and I don't want to hit done here because I want to bring this Trick Room mode because I think it's really good. The other mode that I was thinking was going to be a Thievul Musharna lead, which guarantees me to get up Trick Room with Regirock in the back, and maybe Landorus for Intimidate support as well. And if I had another 15 seconds, I probably would have switched to that, but given the time constraints and where I was, I did not do so. So, moving into the game, I think that my opponent's setup is going to be fairly similar to what they've had in the past games, and I see Kartana and Nidoking come out, and I know Thievul is scary for them, because now we both know that Thievul is faster than Kartana and picks up the Oko on it. So my thought process here was that Thievul just has to launch a Burning Jealousy, otherwise Kartana could KO the Tapu Koko with a powerful attack. I don't think Tapu Koko survives. If it's slower than Thievul when Thievul's got double speed, so it's not max speed, so with it being Scarfed, I assume that it's max attack, and I think that KOs Tapu Koko. I also am considering switching in Landorus and Spectrier here for different reasons. I end up going with the Spectrier but because I thought a Max Earth might be coming into the Coco, but also seeing that Max Earth was the obvious coming there, a Max Ice might come in, predicting a Landorus switch in, so Spectrier seemed like middle ground there. I'm not expecting to max Spectrier this match. So the Nidoking maxes, which is what I expected, and I'm expecting the attack to go into Spectrier. And with that being said, this Burning Jealousy is not going to do much, but it's going to give me a decent chip. But also, incidentally, activate the red card on the Swampert, which will force me to switch out, and Thievul loses its speed advantage for the rest of the game, which is really bad. It's bad. There's no way to say anything else, because now I don't outspeed that cart with anything, and I have to play around Scarf Cart a lot more than I previously would have. I sort of cripple the Swampert here, which is nice. It's not going to be doing a lot of damage. And then he Max Quaked into the Thievul, which is very nice for me. Straight into the Landorus. Here I don't really know what to do. Given the bulk that I think this Nidoking has, Max Quake doesn't pick up a KO when it's above 90%. So I'm going to need to double into it if I want to make sure that it goes down, and I don't want a Max Ice being launched into Landorus, so I do need to double into it. Which is sort of an unfortunate setup, because that means I need to ignore Swampert, which probably ends up being a mistake in the long run, because without Musharna, Swampert really walls a lot of my team, and getting free Shadow Ball damage into it would have been very nice. A better play would have been a Max Guard on the Landorus, which I would have done if I had a Max Guard slot, but this is an Assault Vest Landorus, so it doesn't have a Max Guard slot available. Probably team building error on my side at that point. There were a couple Pokemon that don't have Protect that probably should have. But at this point I know the Nidoking's going down. So Nidoking goes down. He's out of maxes, Swampert's left. It's gonna chunk something, but probably not pick up a KO. And Landorus is very specially bulky at this point in time. So, with Nidoking going down and a super bulky Landorus and Spectrier able to get some damage off, Darkest Lariat is gonna go into the Spectrier at this point. It's gonna chunk me. I've got a sash on it, so I know it's not going down, and it's not close to KOing me from -1 anyway. So here's where I have the potential to get into a little bit of trouble. This Aerodactyl speed ties the Spectrier if it's max speed. I also assume that it's sash, so Spectrier is not just going to take it out. It's going to launch an Ice Fang into Landorus, and there's nothing I can do about it. What would be useful is if I win a speed tie, get a Will-O-Wisp on it, and then KO it, assuming that it's sashed, because then it goes down to Will-O-Wisp damage afterwards, and it would have the damage that goes into this Landorus, which would allow Landorus a bit more survivability, but he wins the speed tie. So this Aerodactyl chunks the Landorus before it goes down to another double target. Now, unfortunately, with this double target, I continue to leave Swampert alive. The Rockfall comes out, and it's going to take it down to the Sash, and then while it's at the Sash, the burn damage will kill it. I can't remember what my opponent did with Swampert at this point in time. I think that... oh yeah, it Ice Punched, which also does a chunk into the Landorus. It would have been very useful for this Landorus to have a little more HP than it currently has. So that speed tie loss is huge going into these last couple turns in the battle. Now, here's the turn where I throw pretty hard. So Kartana comes out. I don't think Scarf Kartana, even max attack, kills Landorus at this point in time with an attack that he's going to want to use, understanding what I have in the back. So I shouldn't target into the Kartana, I should target into the Swampert. And that's where my big throw comes. I decide that Kartana is the bigger threat, and I want to max Knuckle into it to weaken it before I attack into the Swampert. But I should realize that the Burning Jealousy off the Thievul in the back, even if it's slow, Kartana's not going to have anything that KOs it. It's going to be enough to take out the Kartana. So this is a really bad play on my end. because Night Slash is going to actually pick up the KO on Spectrier, leaving the Landorus alive. But then Landorus should have launched an Airstream into Swampert was the right play here, not Knuckle into Kartana, because this doesn't come close to picking up a KO. Kartana's going to get one more attack off, which is going to kill the Landorus most likely if Landorus doesn't go down here, which it does. And now I have a Thievul and a Coco against a Swampert and a half-health Kartana. I would much rather have had that going into half-health Swampert and full-health Kartana, given what I know about the calcs with Burning Jealousy. So I've got to put in Thievul and Coco really quickly. Thievul comes in, Coco comes in, and I need to click Burning Jealousy, but because I got red carded out earlier, I don't have the speed advantage, so this Kartana is going to get one attack off and chunk something, but I don't think he picks up the KO on Coco. Coco doesn't have a lot of moves to hit Swampert. I didn't run a grass move on it this week. The setup was designed pretty hard, thinking that Latios was going to be coming, which it didn't, which was unfortunate. So here I have a choice to make. I could Howl to try and get bonus damage into the Swampert, or I could guarantee pick up the KO on the Kartana. Let the Swampert Earthquake and hope Thievul wins the 1v1 because I get enough damage out from Coco here. I don't want to say I made the wrong play here. Like, it's entirely possible that this play was correct. Burning Jealousy, seeing that I'm faster than the Swampert, is annoying because I wasn't sure if I would be at this point in time, and if I knew that I was going to be faster than Swampert, I may have done something different. Actually, wait, no, this was correct, because Howl would be slow again, and it wouldn't boost the Coco. That was the right play. So here, I know that I basically have to crit the Swampert and hope that I'm able to take it out with the Thievul, but I've put myself in a position where I need a crit and a high roll, because I don't have foul play on this Thievul, which I probably gave too much respect to the Klefki, and Klefki wasn't even running the set I was scared of with the quick guard, so I'm relying on a crit here, which does not materialize, and he's able to pick up the KO with Swampert with an Earthquake. So once again, I think I threw both games 1 and 3, but my opponent played well enough to put me in a position to do so, so I've got nothing but respect for them and the game they played, and I wish them the best of luck moving forward as I drop into a tie for first place at 4-1 now. I'll see you guys later.